Bonjour à tous! Can you imagine what could be the worst scenario for every BMW owner? Of course, when something is wrong with your BMW. Imagine a situation. You're walking towards your car, you have a good mood, nothing bad is expected to happen. You're opening your car, you're sitting inside the car, you're pressing start-stop button, your engine starts running, and then you see this. Of course, this is the most awful situation because check engine light is never good. You will not expect check engine light and it will not give you plus 10 horsepower. It just doesn't work in that way. It is always bad. But is check engine light the end of the life or something can be done with that? Of course, there's always that you can do something about all the errors. Check engine light is one of the most critical errors that you could have because you don't know why it happened. Sometimes it could appear with really tiny issues and actually you can continue driving and of course you have to fix it. But sometimes you just have to stop your car immediately and you cannot continue driving because more harm will be done to your engine. And engine is the most expensive part of your vehicle. Hello, I'm Vladimir and you are on the BimDoc channel. In today's video, I'll show you how to use ISTA like a pro. What is ISTA? Actually, ISTA, it stands for Integrated Service Technical Application. It is the software that BMW dealers use to diagnose BMWs and also to code and program those. But today's main focus will be on diagnosing the car. Why it is so critical to know how to diagnose your car by yourself? Because to fix the car, several diagnoses will be required. Modern cars, especially BMWs, are so complex you just cannot fix it with a single wrench. You need a computer with special software and some hardware to connect to the car. For example, in our case, you have seen the check engine light is on. But is it critical? Can I continue driving or I have to stop the car immediately? You don't know that. That's why today I'll show you how to diagnose your car properly with professional BMW software. If you are just the beginner and you don't know anything about BMWs, how to diagnose those, for example, or even if you are a pro user, believe me, in today's video you'll see some very good tips you were not aware before. In today's video, I'll cover all the very essential parts of the special software called ISTA. How to connect to the car, how the interface looks like, which button is meant for what, in what order to press which buttons, and how to make the diagnose of essential elements of your BMW. If you are for the first time on my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button not to miss the future videos. If you are among those who do support my videos with a premium subscription, huge thanks to you. If you're a premium subscriber, you can see all those videos and the same video as well way earlier than other subscribers. And of course, you get access to some perks. For example, I'm answering to all the comments by the premium subscribers with way more details. So if you're interested in something that was not covered in the video, ask your question in the comments. Let's jump into the car. Let's fire up the computer. Let's start the ISTA and see how the diagnostics should be done. In today's video, I'll be referring kinda often to my previous videos. For example, the first question you might ask, hey Vladimir, where do I get that ISTA? See current video to understand how to install full software required to work with the BMWs. To connect to the car, you will require, of course, the laptop with a special BimDoc sticker because it gives +2 to speed of the diagnostics and at least +3 to the programming and some kind of interface. For example, I'll be using the Ethernet cable because I'm sitting in the G series. If you have another BMW, for example F series, the same Ethernet cable will be absolutely good for you. If you have something else, for example older, the E series, then you'll require another interface like DCAN cable or the ICOM. Of course, the ICOM is the official BMW hardware. It looks like that one. It can be used to work with all the BMWs, E, F, G, I, you name it series. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, BMW dealer use ISTA Plus to work with the BMWs. They use it for purposes like diagnostics and coding and programming. ISTA is used to diagnose all the BMWs, E, F, G, I, all the series. And it's also used to program and code BMWs, even the whole BMW or some ECUs that has been exchanged. ISTA Plus can be used to code and program only F and G series BMWs. It cannot be used to code and program E series because E series is kind of old and for that you will require ISTA P. But this is way another topic. The connection sequence. If you use ICOM, it doesn't matter in which sequence you connect to the car, but with the ENET, it's very important to start the engine, or at least the ignition. In case of G series, 3 times pressing quickly the start-stop button. In F and E series, you can just press it twice, it will be working. Then, when the engine was running for at least 30 seconds, you will connect ENET cable to the car. And only then you will connect ENET cable to the laptop. This is required for all the ECUs, more specifically for the gateway ECU, to boot up properly and make all his internal things correctly. If you make it in vice versa order, you might not establish the connection with the ENET cable. I'm connecting the car and loading up the computer. As you have seen at the beginning, we had check engine light working. You can see it on the dash, but have a look to the screen. Over there we have notifications, and actually you can see there is 0 notifications, so no errors are present. What could it mean? If you have anything super bad with your BMW, normally you should have at least some kind of error message on your information display as well. In our case, we can see only the check engine and no errors present in the car. It means that there is some problem with the engine, but it's not super critical. And to get more details, we require more professional software like ISTA. Let's go into the computer. Firing up ISTA. If you still haven't seen my installation video, make sure to see it. So what do we have here? First of all, the version of ISTA, you can see it is version 4.39. What does it mean? Super important comment. As again, it is super important. Do not go for the newest ISTA possible. Go for the most stable one. In the video where I was showing how to install the ISTA, I was using the ISTA version 3.28. Now I'm using 4.39, and I guess I'll soon switch to something newer like 4.51 or 50. Why? You don't have to go to the newest one, because to make the diagnostics, you don't need all the super new databases. For example, the ISTA version 4.39, it was released something in 2023 or ish. So whatever the car is, well, that was produced older than 2023, you will have absolutely no problems diagnosing that car. And even with the newer cars, for example, if it was produced, for example, G23 series LCI, it is produced in 2025, but it's based on 2018 year technology. That's why you'll be absolutely okay with that. So don't go for the newest one, go for the most stable one. This is how the main window looks like. What you can see here, different settings and so on. First of all, to make it more convenient, you have to expand it. Either use that button up right over here. Some versions could not have it. You should just press 2 times on the upper bar and you'll be absolutely okay. So top left, you can see different windows. Why it's required? For example, we're in the window number 1, you can switch to 2, 3, and so on. In the dealership, when the dealers work with the BMWs, one ISTA can work simultaneously with several BMWs. For example, in window 1, I can connect remotely to one of the icons and scan one car, and in another window connect to another car and make the same procedure at the same time. If you are just using for your car, it doesn't matter in which window you are starting. Next thing, this thing is important. It's called Connection Manager. If you press over here, new window appears and you can actually see what connection type you are going to use. In our case, it's ENET. If you'll be using ICOM, it will be ICOM. Next one, the print. It is very important. I'll leave it to the end of the video, how to use that. It is super handy, believe me. Settings. You click settings and different settings. Just see my video about how to install and configure the BMW software. Everything is told over there. Before the connection, make sure the connection type is selected correctly. For example, in our case, we're using the ICOM ENET local area network. This is absolutely correct setting. Pressing OK. And what else we can see here? The new, finished, and active. In active window, you will see the connections that are active at the moment. At the moment, we are not connected to any vehicle. That's why it is blanked. Finished, you will see the previous connections to the vehicles in different versions of the ISTAs. Sometimes it works properly, sometimes it does not work properly. It depends on the version ISTA you are using. You have to make sure you are in the new window. Next one, we can either read out the information from the vehicle. This is the step will be required. Model code, you can just type in the model code. Model code, you can just ignore the tab. Basic features. Actually, basic features is super handy thing. You'll be able to see different wiring diagrams without connection to the vehicle itself. But a very important highlight, not all versions of the ISTA will have that tab. And actually, some versions, for example, the current version 4.39, it has that tab. And even if you select whatever vehicle to work with that vehicle type offline, it will not work. ISTA will just crash. It is based on the different versions of the ISTA. Important remark. As I told, not all the versions of the ISTA will have that basic functions tab working. It is super useful. For example, you are working at home, you are not connected to any vehicle, and you need to see some kind of wiring diagrams or whatever other information that ISTA could provide. It is super handy, but it's not present on all the versions of the ISTA. The last ISTA version I'm aware of where that tab was working was 4.28, but it's a bit outdated for the diagnostic purposes, but it's good to see different wiring diagrams. If any of you dear subscribers are aware of newer versions of the ISTA that are actually stable and that tab is working properly offline, write it in the comments. It will be very interesting to see those. Let's establish connection to the vehicle. The thing we need to do, you have to be sure you are in operations mode, because other tabs, they are just grayed out, except the operation fluids, where you can see how much oil and so on will be required for different vehicles. Operations, new, read out vehicle data. Down right, you have two different options. Identification without vehicle test, it will just read out information from the vehicle, but not performing the full test. Basically, it's kind of useless. Only if you want to see the general information about the vehicle. But for our case, press complete identification. New window should pop up. It is connection manager. You select the type of your connection, why that connection manager is required. For example, if you're working at the dealership level and you have several icons over the Wi-Fi or wirelessly connected to different cars, you can select to which icon to connect, and pressing over here, set up connection. The vehicle data is being read out. The good sign that you have the connection, the first top left over here, you should see the VIN code of your vehicle, and then all the rest of the information will start appearing as it's become read out from the vehicle. From that sheet, actually you can see a lot of very useful information. Let's wait while the vehicle is being read out, and I'll tell you different tricks and tips I have learned during the years working with the BMWs. If the chip tuning was done on your vehicle, newest version of the ISTA, I guess it was newer than 4.28 or 3.1, something like that, will actually they have built-in chip tuning test. And on the BMWs of G series, you will see that chip tuning was done on that vehicle. That's why if you have tuned your BMW and you're going to the BMW dealership, they will know it exactly when they're making the diagnostics. They don't need to make any additional test. It is the first indicator. Be aware of that. You will understand when the diagnostics is done. Over here, no processes are running anymore. You have seen that it was written finished, and when you can see the picture, you can see the ECU tree. It is the tree of all the ECUs. It means the diagnostics has been completed. One more important highlight. At the moment, I'm using the standalone ISTA. What does mean standalone? It's being cracked, so you can use it with the offline computer. BMW dealers, they use online ISTA, official with the license and so on and so on. Initially, I thought, it would be very good to have like official online ISTA to work with all the BMWs professionally. Actually, I do have it with the license and without the license, but personally I prefer the ISTA without the license because it is way faster. Just for the comparison, reading out of that vehicle, it took me like 2 minutes. If I'm reading out the same BMW with the same computer but with the online ISTA, it will take half an hour, because ISTA needs to communicate with the BMW server, send information there. It is super slow, and standalone versions, they're way more stable. With the online version, with the official ISTA, it crashes. For example, you'll be reading out the car for 20 minutes, it crashes, and you have to start all over again. That's why diagnostics at dealership level sometimes take hours just to read out the vehicle without even going into the details what's actually wrong with the car. This was small hint about difference of the official version and standalone version. It is important to understand that. Let's go back to our ISTA. As promised, let's start with all the details. If you press vehicle details, this was the screen you have seen while reading it out. What useful information you can find over here, and actually it is important. Of course, top left VIN code, the mileage in kilometers and miles, the engine type B57 D30, it is 3-liter diesel engine, super important to know. The eye-level factory, from here you can understand what was the eye shipment version, the software version of the vehicle when it was produced. So that car was produced in 2017 in July. Eye level actual, it actually shows at what level of the software is the vehicle at the moment. As you can see, I have 2021 and March level software. HMI version, it is important also to know if you're making, for example, the CarPlay activations. My NBT Evo, it has soft version of year 2021 and November. Very often over here in map version, you should also see the type of the map installed. For example, in my case, it should be written NBT Evo over here. It means I have NBT Evo head unit. This was the information that could be found on that screen, and actually it is important. Next, the vehicle equipment. You can see the different codes that actually installed in the vehicles in the CAFAs. It is driver assistant ECU. You can see the code ID. What does that code do, and actually also if the code is accepted or not. For example, if one of your functions is not working correctly, for example, the speed limit information is not displayed, it is the road sign recognition correction. Yes, it is a road sign recognition. And over here, if you can see the FSC status as rejected, it means something is wrong with the code, and that's why your function is not working. And same for the head unit. Retrofits, you will see what retrofits were done on that vehicle. In my case, it is the HELC or rear LCL lights installed. If you haven't seen that video before, that's actually a very good video to see. And all the equipment installed in my vehicle, you can scroll down and you can see all the equipment over here. It is important to understand that that list, it is read out from the vehicle itself. It is not read out from any BMW server or anything. So even if you're using the online ISTA, that information will be read out from the vehicle, not from the BMW servers. Next tab, Control Unit 3. Over here you can see different ECUs. Every ECU is represented with a certain box. It will be with the different colors. You can see the color code down here. If you can see whatever ECU with the green, it means 0 errors are stored in that ECU. If it is yellow, it means some errors are stored in that ECU. It is not bad, it is not good, it just means there are some errors. If you can see some ECUs in the red, it means that ECU is not responding. Either it doesn't have power because of blown fuse, broken wires, or that ECU is just broken and not working anymore. It's definitely not good. And the blue ECUs, it means you have started the software update with some ECU and something went wrong. So that ECU is still responding, but it cannot operate as it should. In my car, as you can see, I have only greens and yellows. It is absolutely okay state. Preferred state is, of course, all the green, but with the G series, it's super hard to achieve all the green ECUs because the cars are so sophisticated, they're registering every single error. That's why you will always have some yellow ECUs. It's absolutely okay. What else you can see here? You can see these ECUs are connected with different lines. Those are buses. For example, you can see that Kcan bus is depicted with that gray color. You can see it over here. So all those ECUs are connected with one bus. Or for example, if you can see that each red, pink, whatever color is that, you can see by the color code it is the FlexRay. FlexRay is super fast ECU. If you click here, it will be highlighted what ECUs are connected with that, and it's important to know on what bus what ECUs are located. Sometimes it is super important for diagnostics. For example, if all the ECUs on one bus are not responding, most likely it's not that all the ECUs went bad, that something is wrong with that bus or with the gateway through which that bus is operating. That's why it also helps sometimes. It could be a very useful trick. Let's continue exploring ISTA. One more thing to highlight, you can see that some ECUs, they could be a bit gray. It means that current ECU is just selected. If you highlight the ECU, or not even highlight, if you just hold the mouse over the ECU when it's highlighted, you can see more information about that. For example, you are the first time user of the BMW Diagnostic system, you don't know what the combi is. You can see over here it is instrument panel. It means the cluster. Or ACSM, you highlight it, you hold a bit, and it will be written crash safety model. So it is the model for the airbags. And a lot of other useful information. For example, down here in the same open window, you can see what software is inside the ECU even without going to that ECU. Those small hints could be sometimes very useful and handy. Control unit list, it is exactly the same thing as control unit tree, it just represented in another way. Operations report, basically every time you read out something with the ISTA, it will just make the full report. I will show you how to work with that closer to the end of the video. I hope not to forget that. Info from service consultation, we have no information available because my ISTA is not connected online. So let's go back to the control unit tree. We have already done the diagnostics, but now let's see what's actually wrong with my vehicle and why the check engine light is working. Down left, you can see the fault memory. It is 8. It means 8 errors are present in my vehicle at the moment. To see what are those errors, you have to go down right. You can see display fault memory. You press there and you will have the overview of all the errors. You will see the error code and the description of the code, and very often even what ECU is causing that error. Also very important, if you have check engine light on, as in our case, over here on the left you will see that what error could be causing that check engine light to be on. Very often check engine light is never a good error and has to be fixed. Because I'm at the moment located in Paris and I'll be staying here for a couple more months, I cannot fix those at the moment. Those are not super critical. I'll fix those ASAP when I go back to Estonia. Let's go through all the errors. The functional limitation of connected drive head unit. It's not important. My services, they are a bit hacked, so head unit is working as it should, so don't pay attention to that. So exhaust temperature sensor upstream of oxidation catalytic converter. It is just a description of the error, but the thing we can see it is non-existent at the moment. It means that that error only appears time over time. If I'll press down left over here, delete fault memory, that error will be gone and it will appear sometime soon. We don't know at what time. To get more information about whatever error, let's go, for example, the same error, exhaust temperature sensor upstream. You make double click on that, new error appears. It is super important. In that window, you'll see way more additional information about every single error. You can read when that error appears. You can even see the more information. And the most important, you go to the details, and over here there is a special table. You'll be able to see, for example, that error appeared 4 times. The first time it was appearing, it was with that kilometer reading, and the last time it appeared with that kilometer reading. So basically I have traveled 400 kilometers and that error appeared 4 times during 400 kilometers. What could it mean? Making the diagnostics is not only reading out the car with the help of the computer, you also have to understand how it works. Let's take, for example, the previous error we have seen. You have seen that the error was present 4 times for 400 kilometers traveled. What could it mean? For example, if you have traveled 20,000 kilometers and error appeared only once or twice, it is like 20,000 kilometers. And if the error is not active, you can just delete it and forget about it. Because whenever whatever value goes outside of the range, the ECU automatically registers the error. It's absolutely okay behavior. But if the error is repeated consistently over a short period of time, it means the error is presently physically present. For example, one of my sensors, it has either the wiring problem or the sensor itself is not working. If it was the wiring problem, the error will be appearing way more often. Basically, every time I start the engine and the engine ECU makes all the checks. Because it's only 4 times for 400 kilometers, I can assume it's the error of the sensor itself, and the sensor has to be replaced. Where that sensor is located, we will be able to see a bit later. So the error was present 4 times. What else we can see? The error code, the timestamp. For example, when that error was present, you can see that error was present on the 12th of April, the first time, and the last time. So it was present during one day. You can even see what was the injection rate and all the other parameters, what was the intake air temperature, the ambient pressure, what was the speed of the driving speed. For example, the first time it was present was driving a bit fast. I guess I was somewhere on the German Autobahn, at least I hope it was not in the middle of the Paris, and so on and so on and so on. So all those super important details. And system content, it is representing the same information. You can see the error was present for the 4 times, and you can see a bit more information. You can see during what mileage it happened, what was the voltage inside the sensor, outdoor temperature, engine temperature, and so on and so on. For some errors, it is super important to see all the data to understand and make some logical conclusions. Let's go on. And actually, you can see that error, it is the check engine light is present with the gray. And what does it mean? It could be gray, yellow, or some other colors. And actually, in the same table, you should see on some errors, it will be written that it does not cause the check engine light to be on. And with that specific case, it writes that actually it could cause the check engine light to be on. So it could be the issue why we have check engine light on. But actually, the actual reason why I do have the check engine light on, it is the swirl flap controller position. You can see it's not present at the moment. Double click over here to see all the details. That error was present for 13 times. I guess it is exactly the same time range. You can see the same date and so on. And you can see all the same errors that are present over there. And over here, actually, you can see the fault, the current fault code causes the indicator lamp or that to be on. Let's check the same thing with the previous one at the same place. It has caused in the past, but at the moment, fault does not trigger drive information at the moment. So it shows that that error is not causing our check engine light to be on. But that one is more interesting. You can see how much time it was present and so on and so on and so on. Why all the errors start at the same date and at the same time? Let's make the conclusions. Because this is my vehicle and I'm working with that, I have deleted all the errors to understand when that error starts and so on. Of course, if you have never deleted any errors, you will have way longer error history. You have to understand also that deleting the errors is not fixing the issues. If the errors are physically present in the vehicle, just deleting those will not fix your car. It just sometimes helps to understand. For example, the car arrives, you're making the diagnostics, and you can see like 100 different errors. Going through all of those will just take so much time. That's why sometimes it's way more easier to delete all the errors, drive a car for some time, half an hour, and you will see what errors appear, and only then start with the actual diagnostics, because you'll just waste too much time trying to sort out all the errors that were present in the car in the past. Let's close that window. I'll show you a bit later how to go even into more details to the same error and other errors that we do have. For example, the bottom radiator blind possibility blocking, it's not present at the moment. We can open it up and we can see error is present only once. It was present like 400 kilometers ago, so most likely it is not the error that will be always happening. Just, yeah, you can just delete it and forget about that, and so on and so on and so on. The most important thing in the ISTA, that actually how it could help, when you have read out the errors, you can press calculate test plan, and this is the really beauty of the ISTA, because ISTA will actually suggest you what you could do about that error. For example, the swirl flap over here, you can see the different errors present, and whatever is A bail, it means it will be running the special measure plan and will actually guide you how to measure, what to do, and so on. For example, let's take that swirl flap actuator, those errors, and let's check how are my flaps actually working or not working in the vehicle, and let's try to make some deductions from that. Is it super critical or it has to be fixed instantly? Small side remark with the swirl flaps. On the older engines like M and N series, if whatever is wrong with the swirl flaps, you have to deal with that almost immediately, because the swirl flaps could be broken, go inside the engine and cause a lot of harm. On B series, at least on my vehicle, I have done the diagnostics before. I have the error with the swirl flaps present only when the engine is cold, because they're just not in the range. You'll see it in the moment. So you highlight the error you are interested in and you press display. And actually ISTA will go you through all the procedures that are required. On the left side, you can just see what will be happening. So basically, we have the error present, so swirl flap position controller sensor signal too low. So in one of the positions, even in the open or closed case, the swirl flaps are not working properly. In the description and the details, you can see all the same sum up, system content, the same thing, and the description, basically how to check that, how it works, and so on. But what we're interested in, let's press continue. It shows us how to check if everything is okay, which sockets, which pins to check, even the wiring diagram, the swirl flap actuator. If you press over here, swirl flap actuator, it will actually show you. So where is the intake manifold installation location? So it is our engine, it is the gearbox. So where is that located? And you can see, you can actually read all the information, how the intake manifold works, what are the swirl flaps, why they are required, and so on and so on. You can see a lot of very useful information about whatever part of the vehicle you are looking at. So super useful. Believe me, I have read all that. That's why I'm skipping that. We can press again the continue, and actually it shows you. So ISTA, with the help of the engine ECU, could actually measure the performance of the swirl flaps and tell us how bad they are or not so bad. It will offer us different functions. For example, let's make the test of the swirl flaps and let's see how they actually work or not work. Pressing the continue, it actually will show what test it will be doing. Different tests requires, for example, that test requires that engine should be at operational temperature. You have to read all that thing, all those instructions through, and it actually tell so what is the good or bad conditions for whatever error. I will not waste your time reading all that. And at the moment my engine is running. You can see the progress over here, and you can see the swirl flaps actuating. With the red one, it is the desired position. So the swirl flaps should be, by default, they are in open position. They should be closing over here and opening over here. So you can see the right corner is the opening of the swirl flaps. And by all the diagram, you can see that they're opening absolutely okay. but they are not closing to the full extent as they should. All the tests, they take some time. Different tests take different time. The amount of the test that you can actually perform with the vehicle depends on how new is the vehicle, what ECUs are installed over there. Of course, G series allow to make way more diagnostics with the help of ISTA than the E series. And now let's just wait while the test continues. The test has been finished. You can even go back and see how it works. So you can see the swirl flap actuator, they were working, and at some point they were just not operated anymore. I don't know if it should be in that way or not. We'll see that in the next screen. We press continue, and actually the set point values were not achieved. Behavior of flaps is not okay. It could cause, why it could be caused? Because the swirl flaps could be jammed and so on. 1 month ago, when I was performing the diagnostics for my vehicle, the test was still okay. And actually, by the shape of those diagrams, I can see that the situation with the swirl flaps, it is getting worse and worse. If I was in Estonia, I will immediately stop the vehicle, open the hood, and actually take off the intake manifold and see the exact state of the swirl flaps. In what situation are they? Are they falling apart or not? And of course, replacement of the intake manifold with the swirl flaps is required, because those are not separate things. For example, the refurbished intake manifolds are also available on the market. Do not buy any B parts. Always prefer the original parts or the refurbished parts. They will be okay. At the moment, I cannot do anything about that error. I don't feel any power reduction in the engine. I guess the swirl flaps are just stuck in one of the positions. ISTA shows us all the additional information about the same errors. So in the open position and in the closed position, how are they feeling? And actually, you can just select End Functional Check and press Continue. Boom. And over here, you have to make the next decision. So I guess there is nothing wrong with the plugs. No point to check those. We can just finish that error. Basically, the error cause will be the swirl flap control. Not the controller is faulty, but the swirl flaps are defective by themselves, and they have to be replaced. Unfortunately, they have to be replaced with the intake manifold together. This was the example how you can go deep inside the error and see what's actually happening, how critical that or not. And of course, if you know how to make the diagnostics by yourself, then you can monitor the situation. For example, in my case, the error was not as severe 2 months ago, but it is way more severe now, and that's why at least I am aware, so I can take the risk based on the information I have, not just taking the risk because of the risk. Let's go back to the computer. I'll show you a couple more very useful tricks about the ISTA, how you can diagnose your vehicle. What else do we have over here? Other super important functions. If you go to vehicle information and control unit tree, you can go inside the different ECUs and see the parameters inside of those. It is also very critical for diagnosing the vehicle. For example, let's go to the DDE or digital diesel electronics or engine ECU. You press call up ECU functions to go inside the ECU and see some more parameters. For example, on diesel cars, the state of the diesel particle filter is very important parameter, because the diesel particle filter, it lasts for each 250,000 kilometers, and that's why if you're buying the purchased vehicle, it is important to know the state of that. For example, engine speed, cool temperature, and let's scroll down to the diesel particle filter. Highlight whatever is connected to diesel particle filter, and also scroll down and highlight the pressure, read state. You can see the engine RPM. If you press the gas pedal, you can see the engine is going up, so it's absolutely okay. The coolant temperature at the moment. Also, you can see the total distance remaining for particle filter. It is 167,000 kilometers. At the moment on my dashboard I can see 160,000 kilometers all in all, and actually the particle filter should last each for 100 more thousand kilometers. But you can see the prediction is almost 2,000 kilometers. It means that the condition of the particle filter is actually very good if it has not been resetted by someone before. But because it's my vehicle, I know it has not been resetted. The distance traveled since last regeneration, you can see last regeneration was done 700 kilometers ago. You can see even the engine operating since last regeneration, so engine was working for 11 hours from the last regeneration. And one very important value, the lowest one, the differential pressure. You can see the pressure of the exhaust gases before the particle filter. When the engine is idling, that pressure should be no more than 10 hectopascals. You can see at the moment it is below. If you are revving up the engine, you can see the engine is revving. So at the full throttle, or in diesel case it is 4,000 RPMs, it should be no more than 150, okay, 200 hectopascals. If the back pressure is higher than that, it means that the particle filter is clogged up and either it has to be recuperated or it has to be replaced. In our case, we can see last recuperation was done 700 kilometers ago. Recuperation is done every 1,000 kilometers ish, plus minus. So at the idle, I can see it is close to the upper value. I would prefer it to be lower, but believe me, after recuperation, it will be lower. So we can turn off those values and do all. And let's see what else we can see over here. A lot of useful things. For example, operating hour since engine start and operating hour counter. Press read state. So you can see the engine was working since I started it for such a long time. It just the time how much it takes to make the video, so it takes kind of time. And operating hour counter, it is the engine operating hour counter. You cannot reset that so easily. You will need very sophisticated tools to reset it. That's why it is very good value to know. If you divide it by the kilometers, you'll get the average speed of the vehicle, and based on that you can also make some deductions about the status of the vehicle. For example, number of driving cycles since the fault memory was deleted. Let's press read state. You can see 5. It means that when I deleted the error memory, I have the vehicle went to sleep 5 times. If you go to the vehicle before purchasing it, you can see that cycle is 0. It means the errors were deleted just before you. It doesn't mean something is super bad, but it doesn't mean good neither. Sometimes it means that someone wants to hide something. And here are a lot of different values that should be checked. For example, we had the problems with the swirl flaps. We can press read state. You can see the desired position is that percentage, and actuator is in absolutely wrong position. And actually we can see, so I'm changing the engine speed. Flaps should be completely open now, and actually you can see those are almost stuck in one of the positions. Those are not moving as they should. So my conclusion is my flaps, they are stuck due to the faulty level of the lever of the flaps. Charging pressure, how your turbine is working. You can see the nominal value and before. So desired position and the actual position. Those values can differ a bit. It is absolutely okay. Fuel pressure supply or rail pressure. For example, what is the pressure inside the common rail? Nominal value, it is the value that it should be there, and it is the actual value. If you change the speed of the engine, the values will change, and those should be very close to each other. No bigger difference. And just we are scanning all those values, you can make way more deeper diagnostics. In addition to diagnostics scan, you can trigger the different components, different ECUs will have different options to play with. For example, with the control, we can play with the turbine EGR bypass flap, or with the swirl flap, you can open and close it, and so on and so on. Let's make a bit more spectacular. Let's go, for example, inside the BDC ECU. It is body domain ECU, and let's try to open one of the windows. So we go inside the BDC. We can call up ECU functions. Let's go inside there, component triggering, and you can see you have to find the power window function. So closing, opening, driver power window, driver side power window. Yeah, that's that one. Why it's important? For example, if a window is not working and you want to make sure, is it the problem of the button, control button, or the window motor itself? For example, you're pressing the button as you usually do, and nothing happens. You cannot know if it's the problem of the button or not. But with the ISTA, you can press trigger component. I'm pressing over here, and you can see my window is opening now. Or I can see, for example, I can close it. So in driver's side, I'm selecting the right option and pressing the trigger component, and the window is closing. It means everything operates as it should. So most likely the button is faulty. The button is not faulty in my case. It was just the example how you can diagnose. And believe me, there's almost all the functions of the vehicle are present in the ISTA. You can try a lot of different things, like a lot of different things. Going through all the ECUs, showing all the functions will just take ages. I will not do that. I rather prefer to show you something more useful and beneficial. Let's go to the vehicle management. Over here, we have way more tabs present. For example, the software update tab. It is grayed out, as you can see. It is because my ISTA is not connected to the databases for the software update. And why? Can you see the version of my ISTA? It is 4.39. It is way outdated because at the moment, it is the April of 2025. The newest database should be from the ISTA 4.52, if I'm not mistaken. And that ISTA is not compatible with that. Yes, you can connect different versions of the ISTA with different databases, but why to do that? I prefer to use the ACs to update the software. How to do that through the ACs? See following video. Let's continue. Service function tab is one of the next super useful. Over here, if you go, you can see a lot of different things that are present over there. The thing I want to show you over here, for example, the tests. We can go again to the diesel engine electronics, and here are different tests present if you need to test your spiral flaps and so on and so on. If you were unable to find any functions inside the ECU, as I have just shown you a moment before, you can find those tests over here. But the smooth running control, it's one of the tests I usually perform when diagnosing the vehicles. Yes, press just continue, perform a rough running measurement, continue, make for 30 seconds and continue. Over here you can see the minimum and the maximum value that is allowed. I'm pressing continue, and now the engine ECU will actually measure how much fuel is going through the different injectors. You can see, because I have a 3-liter diesel engine with 6 cylinders, you can see every injector how it's actually working. Is it getting enough fuel? Is it going to bypass a lot of fuel, and so on and so on. If those differences are very high, you can make some deductions by in what conditions are the fuel injectors. Fuel injectors in modern engines are super important components. That's why testing those, it is important. You can see that all injectors are okay, and you can see the rough deduction over here. If the difference is more than 1 point between the different injectors, it is the small sign of that some injectors are going to be bad soon. But as you have seen their values, those are from 5 to -4, so the range is kind of bad. Before, kind of big. before those values are outside of the range, you will not have any errors on your dashboard. And close, close, close. What else you can find here? In the body function, for example, you can see the voltage supply. You can activate the battery rest state. You can put the vehicle to the sleep. But actually, we need determine battery condition. Overview battery values, pressing the continue. And you can see during the last 5 days how the battery was charged, how it was 5 days ago, and how it was like going um, getting more empty and empty, because inside the Paris I'm not driving so much. Also, you can see the battery aging index, it is 85.9%. It means the battery is still in kinda okay state. If it goes like way below like 80 or 70%, you might consider replacing your batteries. Also, you can see how many hours the battery was charged, up to what percentage, and so on. So inside the ISTA you can find a lot of useful information. Also, in the ISTA, it is possible to see all the wiring diagrams, how different ECUs are connected, what bus is used, what is the parameters of every single wire, what color it is, what pin is used, how those are connected, and so on and so on. It is very important for the diagnostic purposes. You can also find everything that in ISTA. Unfortunately, I cannot show you all the information in one video, because that video is already super long. I'm predicting like 1 hour long video, but I'm covering that thing, how to use the wiring diagram, in the video when I was working with the headlights. See that video, you'll get more information about the wiring diagrams. And so on, and so on, and so on. If you need to make the battery replacement, you have to register it. You'll find that function over here, for example, register battery replacement. If you need to do something with the seats, for example, normalize the driver's seat or the passenger seat, depends of the seats you have, you can do it here. In the chassis suspension, if you have to regulate how your steering wheel operates, make all the calibrations, it can be done through the ISTA. And so basically this is the must-have tool for all the BMW owners. Okay, what else? I want to show you two more things. How to clear the errors and how to print out the information you have been reading out before in professional way. Before we clear any errors, as you can see over here, if I press delete fault memory, the ISTA will delete all the active errors and only non-active will remain. But before that, you can see that printer icon over there. This is the thing that not many users actually know. So you can print and select fault memory list, and over here is print to file. Press OK. Error log has been saved. As easy as that. So you don't need to make any screenshots, printing, and so on. So where it is saved, you go to your computer where the ISTA is installed. So it should be different setups use different installation, but in the ISTA folder you have to find the folder called print. You filter it by date. Today is 22nd of the April, and you open the PDF and you can see the error log present here. This is the document that actually the BMW dealer is printing you when making diagnostics and charging you at least 100 euros per one printout. But over here you can see all the needed information. Very professional. And now let's clean all our errors. We just press delete fault memory, pressing yes, and ISTA will tell us what we need to do. If the engine is running, ISTA will turn off the engine, or if it's unable to turn off the engine, it will tell us to turn off the engine. When working through the ICOM, it is able to work with the car more precisely. With the ENET, it's unable. That's why it tells us turn off the car, press next, and then ISTA will either automatically turn on the diagnostic mode, or we have to do it manually. Activate pad mode, because through the ENET cable it is unable to do that. With the ICOM it will be doing that automatically. And after deleting all the errors, ECU scans the car again. And at the moment we can even see, for example, in the engine ECU, it shows 0 errors. It means that everything is fixed. Of course not. We just deleted the errors. Now the engine is hot, so most likely the error will not appear. But when the engine will cool down and I'll turn on again, my swirl flap error will be present again. And you can see only 2 errors present. We can go again to the fault memory. So satellite module is not active. That's with my head unit. And the remote battery control is under voltage, so I have to charge my display key. Let's start the engine. At the moment on the dashboard, I can see that check engine light is not working anymore. It's absolutely okay because we have deleted the errors. We can make the start vehicle test again. Why it is necessary? Because before that I deleted the errors, the engine was off. We turned on the diagnostics mode, scanned the car, and that's why there were no error present. But now I started the engine, and we can see in the engine ECU one of the errors is present. We'll see what error appears. It means that error is becoming critical and we have to deal with that ASAP or as soon as possible. Display fault memory, and you can see the swirl flap controller position sensor. So swirl flaps are most likely now stuck in one of the positions, and it is absolutely no bueno. I have showed you the most important parts you have to know about the ECU. Of course, it was not the complete video because it's just impossible to fit into one. It is not the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It will take just so much time. I really do hope that you enjoyed current video because it was super useful. That video will save you a lot of money. Just by making the diagnostics by yourself, you'll be able in what state your car is, what's problem with that, and so on and so on. It is just so valuable information. If you still haven't subscribed to my channel after seeing that wonderful video, feel free to do so. Also, hit the like and see you next time. Bye. And one more afterburner. Basically, the sphere flaps are working again. You can see the pattern is not as it should be. And over here, you can see, for example, over here, so they failed to open or close completely. And I'm just continue monitoring those. So yes, they are working somehow, but up over here, and again it's running. You can see they were closed and they are not opening again, so they are stuck again somewhere. So it is definitely not the bueno situation. I'll open the hood now and let's see what's happening actually over there. Давай! I open the hood. And my daughter actually, she started the program because she is the ECU professional now. She knows at least the same thing as you. But actually, I cannot hear those working. Yeah, so they are stuck in one of the positions. And actually, during the test drive, we'll see does it affect the engine performance or not. But at least now we know what to deal with. To be continued. This is one more test about the sphere flaps. It shows the health indicators, and actually you can see those are going already to red. It means, yeah, it's not working anymore as it should. As we have seen, so basically they are stuck in one of the positions. So this is one more test to see the health of your swirl flaps. Those have to be dealt immediately.